What's up guys? Today I'm doing an official review on the Tudio Soleil 1. I'm going to be going over every aspect: parts, features, speed, range, acceleration, and basically every other statistic that you could think of. Now, you can pick up the Tudio for about $1,500, which is crazy knowing that this bike has the potential of keeping up with something in the Suron class. To talk about the parts of the bike, I'm going to be going over the pros and cons, starting with what I like the most and working my way onto some things that need some work. The first part that I like is definitely going to be the tires. And you've probably noticed that the ones on mine are a different color, and that's because I'm currently working on blacking out the whole bike. Anyways, the tires are off-road, so you can ride basically anywhere you want. And trust me, it's going to get dirty no matter what, but that's kind of the point. These nubs on the sides provide great traction when you're turning, unlike street tires, which are just so much scarier, in my opinion. Next feature that really stands out to me on this bike is gotta be the suspension. Like, come on, who doesn't want to sit down on a bike that just cushions you perfectly? In the back, it comes with a nice juicy spring and a small shock absorber, providing that feeling when you sit down. In the front, giving that springy sensation, are the forks. You can see I also taped these up for that blackout, and it comes with these little fork guards that stop dirt from getting kicked up in the socket. Next up is going to be the sprocket. That was not supposed to rhyme. Now, this is a debatable part of the bike, but personally, I like it. It is a 60 tooth, which is huge for a little pit bike like this, and it gives the Tudio excellent acceleration right off the throttle. Some people do this, but if you were to switch out to a smaller sprocket, you would get less acceleration, but maybe add a couple of miles an hour on that top speed. So that totally depends on the rider's interests. Overall, I think it's a really essential part of the bike. Up next on the pros is going to be the brakes. These brakes are a little overkill for the size of the Tudio, and can usually be found on something exceeding 60 miles an hour, but hey, you can never be too safe. They are ceramic, which are the same types of brakes in a car. I think that this is really impressive to include, given the cost of the bike, and they do a really nice job stopping. I'm also going to give recognition to the kickstand. This part I actually spray painted black because I didn't like the orange. Anyways, it is really high quality and it easily holds the weight of the bike. It's pretty beefy and comes with a nice spring and an extension to move it up and down. I can also really appreciate the plate on the front. It might not be the best quality, but it's simple, it holds the wires together, and it makes the front look super clean. And you could flip it over to say 01 if you wanted to. The last thing I have for the pros is going to be how easy it is to take off the seat and access the battery. You start by unscrewing the nozzle underneath the seat, and it's even held on by a chain so it doesn't get lost. Then you can just lift up the seat and it pops right off. Moving on to the parts that really need some work, the first thing is going to be the grips. The stock ones are plasticky and feel terrible on your hands. So that's why I installed these ones, which I picked up off of Soleil supplies. This is an upgrade I would highly recommend switching to. The next thing that needs improvement is going to be the fenders. I took mine off because I don't think they look good on the bike. They're flimsy and made out of a cheap material, so I would much rather go without them. Another alternative is to go with the fenders also on Soleil supplies, which look pretty nice. The Tudio does not come with a light. They could easily just add one on to look just like this, which has 4 different light modes and can easily be installed on the front and be charged with a USB-C port. The light is a pretty necessary part of the bike. It allows you to see at night and it helps a lot with safety so that drivers can see you, especially if your bike is full black. My next complaint is going to be the frame. Now, don't get me wrong because I think it looks great. It's just a little too bulky, which means it's heavier than it needs to be. The Tudio itself weighs 105 pounds, and that's without a rider sitting on it. If they opted for a lighter frame, it could probably make the bike go a little faster. Another thing that could easily be changed is the size of the tires. The front tire is 14 inches and the back tire is only 12 inches. That sounds crazy when said out loud. Since the tires are so small, it makes the Tudio a little slower and harder to get over terrain while off-roading. The bike is very low to the ground, and if Tudio added bigger tires, it would simply just make the bike look so much bigger overall. And yes, I do know that it is a pit bike, but still, I think the tires could just be a little bit bigger. Lastly is going to be the color. The orange is kind of cool, but I would much rather have all black or maybe black and red or white. But wait, Tudio already looked into this problem. They created a new bike called the Tudio Soleil 1 SE. It's the exact same bike, but with a few added mods and a full black body. That's a summary of the pros and cons about the bike. Now, let's move on to the performance. The Tudio comes stock with a top speed of 37 miles an hour on the highest mode, Sport. It comes in 3 different power modes. Eco, with a top speed of 17 miles an hour, Tour, with a top speed of 26 miles an hour, and Sport, topping at 37 miles an hour. So here's what a little ride on Sport mode looks like. Riding this is honestly so much fun. Feels way more powerful than you'd expect for its size, and the throttle is so responsive and snappy, especially when you're in sport mode. It just takes off. And because it's so heavy, you can really lean into the turns. And it feels so quick since you're low to the ground. I gotta say, it definitely feels a little shaky from the speed. You can definitely feel the bumps on the road. Let's take a look at the bike right here. It looks so clean in the sun. The light reflects off of it, making it look brand new, which says a lot because I already have over 500 miles on it. Now, if you're getting sick of going under 40 and you want to find a way to just go a little bit faster, there's a solution. This right here is the Bluetooth dongle. You just plug it into the bike and download this app called the Far Driver. You then mess with the settings and make the bike add an extra 5 miles an hour on the top speed. To plug it in, just take off the seat by unscrewing the cap and lifting it up. Where this hole is right here, there should be a little white cord to plug the dongle into. It will start blinking red, and that's when you can pair it to your iPhone and open the Far Driver app. This is the outcome of my settings. $42.3. Before we get riding, let's take a look at the wheelie situation. For those of you looking to wheelie, it is possible, and it's not too hard. The bike is heavy, but there's enough power to pop it up there. I would recommend putting your feet out though, because the balance point is a little hard to find, especially when you're starting out. This bike has a 48 volt, 2000 watt, or 2 kilowatt battery, which is pretty nice. The only problem with that is how slow the charger is. Since it's a budget charger, it can take up to 8 hours for a full charge. But the nice part is, you can take the battery out of the bike. Finally, let's ride. The range on this bike is actually pretty good. I can ride this to the gym and back, which is a 22-mile round trip, and there's still some battery left afterwards. And when I ride to the gym, I'm usually on tour or sport mode, so if you were trying to save battery and travel on eco, My bet would be that the battery wouldn't die for about 30 miles. This is just one thing to keep in mind, but the slower you go, the further you go. If you were to not use the dongle, which unlocks the bike's speed and adds slightly quicker acceleration, you could probably get a mile or two further. But I don't think that it makes that much of a difference. So I've been riding the Tudio for a while now, and I gotta say, this thing is seriously fun. It's the type of bike you would just take to a dirt track and rip around, but it doesn't really look super aggressive at first glance, and once you hop on and twist the throttle, it definitely wakes you up. The power delivery is sharp, and for such heavy frame, it puts out a lot of torque. You really start to appreciate the weight when you're weaving around or taking tight turns. It feels very controllable. You don't have to fight the bike, you just kind of lean and it follows. Perfect for windy back roads, off-road, and I think it's probably casual enough to just pass people on the sidewalks. Which is another thing, because it isn't technically street legal, but I have passed dozens of cops and never really had a problem. If you were to get pulled over, I would just put it in eco mode to be safe, and you probably shouldn't gun it when there's a lot of people around, like on a busy road. It's only a problem when it starts to bother other people. And keep in mind, people probably stereotype you, and they don't want you on the road. So, that's when they're most likely to report you or something. The best thing to do is prove them wrong by driving defensively, and maybe not pop a wheelie when there's a line of cars behind you. Alright, let's take a look at the 0 to 20 with a slight uphill here. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go! 1920. If I were to say, that was probably around 4 seconds. I don't know. Again, the brakes are solid too. You feel in control, which is key when you're hitting 35 miles an hour on something this size. When you let off the throttle, the bike slows down really quickly. It doesn't really feel like it has a lot of momentum. If you need to stop fast, the brakes won't leave you hanging. One thing that would kind of get annoying would be the noise. Since the chain is so bulky, it's kind of loud. Not like dirt bike loud, but it's not exactly stealth mode. But after a while, for me, I definitely got used to it. I've taken this bike basically everywhere. Pavement, dirt paths, little inclines, and it handles all of it surprisingly well. It's got that little bit of torque that helps you power through stuff that would usually slow you down on a 1 kilowatt bike. If you're wondering whether it feels like a toy or a real bike, I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. It's like a mini bike, but it definitely has the performance and feel of something a step up. Not quite a Suron or a Talaria, but it holds its own, especially for the price. The seat doesn't feel the best on long rides that are usually around like 20 to 30 minutes, but after that, you'll probably want to stand and take a break. On my bike, I actually had it custom made with nice leather for that problem. Not to brag or anything. The throttle is a little sensitive in sport mode, so it can feel really jumpy, especially when you're not used to it. But honestly, that's the fun part. Surprisingly, I'm kind of stuck behind a car here. Yeah, it's a double line, I'm not going to pass. This is a good example of usually not having a problem with keeping up with the cars, especially on the back roads. But if the speed limit is over 30, then I usually let the car pass me. When you're going over bumpy terrain or little hills, the suspension does a decent job soaking up all the small stuff. I wouldn't say it's built for hardcore trail riding, but for the general use, street, grass, gravel, that kind of stuff, it's more than capable. That's probably the third time I saw that guy. He keeps checking out the bike. I really like how you can take the key out of the bike. When I ride into town and go into a store or something, I just take the key out of the display and put it in my pocket. It makes it super easy to just turn the bike on and off. First person wheelie. Not bad. Yeah, if you see that little loop I put around my key, I put that there so I don't lose it. The bike does come with a spare, so you're not screwed if you do lose it, and there's a lot of funny e-bike straps on Amazon. I think that a Tudio is perfect for a starter bike. If you were just to blow $5,000 on a Suron without any riding experience at all, it would honestly be pretty dangerous. The Tudio can still get you that speed you're looking for. It doesn't cost you a fortune. It's like a third of the price. And the aftermarket upgrades are endless. The reason why it's so cheap is so that you can customize it and upgrade it to your liking. Meaning, you could buy it earlier, then later buy a bigger battery. I don't know why any other electric bike can't do that. Every other bike that's less than $2,000 can knock over 40 miles an hour. I can tell you that. There is a way to get to like 50 miles per hour or something crazy like that, but I didn't turn it up all the way in the far driver because I want to be able to have good range for further places I want to go. I use this bike as transportation, so if you bought this for fun and you wanted to go on a quick adrenaline joyride, I would definitely max this thing out. I've had the Tudio for about half a year now, and I have well over 500 miles on it. Other than the adjustments that I made, it's basically in the same condition as when I got it. I haven't tried to do maintenance on the brakes or wiring once, only when I wanted to and I was like cleaning the bike or something. Also, the screen doesn't have a very reliable battery percentage, so you kind of have to go off of the mileage that you rode on the trip. Let's see how long that trip was. Okay, 5.5 miles, not bad. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Hopefully, you have an idea if you want to invest in the Tudio Soleil 1 for yourself. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.